I was 15 years into my marriage, and our kids were 13 and 11. Things were rough. The environment within the home was extremely hot and cold. So, what did this hot and cold look like? Well, there were good times. Okay, the good times were when he was at work, or when he was traveling, or gaming upstairs, or even asleep. The bad times was when he was around, when he tried to participate in our activities, when he decided that what everyone was doing was wrong, when things weren't going as he expected, which was a random game of trying to figure out what he wanted all the time. Welcome to the Covert Narcissism podcast. I'm your host, Renee Swanson. I am not a therapist, and you are not a victim. Sprinkle in some occasional good times with him. Okay, we would have, a good evening where things actually did stay positive and went well. As I've talked about in the past few weeks, on a calendar, the bad times were not that frequent. And if you're just looking at the amount of time, there was far more of this weird okay place than anything else. It's this sort of strange place where you can coexist with them and things are just okay. You're not going to feel connected and spontaneous and valued and cared for and validated, but you can just be okay until you're not. And when things are not okay, they are really not okay. So even when things are okay, you're constantly anticipating, working around, and trying to avoid the times that are not okay. This hypervigilance is constant. And I talked about this in my recent podcast episode, Emotional Abuse Consumption. It's the 100% impact of 10% abuse. So here I am, 15 years into my marriage, going through all of this with no understanding of what was really happening. I had no clue. I didn't know what narcissism was. And I was talking with a friend of mine and trying to just kind of sort through all of this. I was trying to make sense out of it. But her response to me was, well, why don't you just leave? If it's that bad, then leave. Well, this response did not help. I didn't want to leave. That wasn't the point of this conversation. I didn't want to abandon my marriage or leave my marriage. I wanted to figure this out. I wanted to make it better. I wanted to stay. Well, I cringe every time that I hear someone ask a victim of covert narcissism, well, why are you still there? Why don't you just leave? Why haven't you left yet? You see, it's an okay question in the right circumstances, but it is a crushing question in the wrong circumstances. You see, in the wrong conversation, this becomes victim blaming. You aren't strong enough to stand up for yourself. You don't love yourself enough. You chose this, so that's on you. You go figure it out. If you're choosing to stay, I can't help you. Have you ever heard these words? Maybe you've heard them from your friends. Maybe you've heard them from your family members. These statements and these attitudes are painful to someone who is already living in an incredibly painful situation. Making them feel worse is not going to help. But let's look at this conversation in the right circumstances. You see, when I'm in a coaching situation and someone tells me that they really want to stay, I understand this. I get it, because so did I. So I tell them, okay, let's talk about it. I want you to know that your decision to stay is valid. It doesn't define your worth or your strength. There are reasons to stay. There's so many valid reasons why somebody would choose to stay, and I will never fault someone for fighting for their marriage, for fighting for their family to stay together. But it is important that you know why you're choosing to stay. So tell me, why do you want to stay? Well, here are some of the answers that I hear. Because they're invested. You've built a life together. And the thought of walking away from everything you've invested in just feels too heavy. You committed to this relationship with all of you, emotionally, mentally, physically. You invested you in it. And you don't want to throw that away. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. I can't blame you for that. You're not inviting abuse. You're invested. And you're going to tell me it's wrong for somebody to be invested in their marriage? Even in the bad times, even in the tough times? It's okay to be invested. Another answer that I hear revolves around family stability. Maybe you prioritize keeping the family unit intact, especially if children are involved. You value the family unit, recognizing that this impacts more than just you. Parents, grandparents, aunts and uncles and cousins and siblings and grandchildren someday. Perhaps you feel that staying provides a more stable environment than leaving would. You might be looking even off into the distant future and feel like, keeping the family unit together is important. You're not wrong. Maybe there's financial concerns. The financial strain of separating can be overwhelming. You might not feel ready or even able to take on the financial challenges of leaving. Maybe you stay because you hope for change. Many people stay because they hold on to the hope that things will get better, that this is just a phase, that life is difficult sometimes. Maybe your partner even shows brief glimpses of understanding or improvement, and they often do. Now, it takes time before you finally realize that there's no meat behind their glimpses of change, but you're just not ready to give up on that hope, and that's okay. Maybe you stay for cultural or religious beliefs, personal values. It's religious beliefs that keep you committed to this marriage. And that's okay. This might play a significant role in your decision to stay. Maybe you stay because of the fear of the unknown. It can feel safer to stay than to step into the unknown, especially if you're uncertain about what life apart would look like. No matter what your reasons for staying, they're valid. No one else can make this decision for you. For those of you listening right now that have left, that was an incredibly tough decision to make. But I want you to understand, for those that choose to stay, that is an equally tough decision to make. None of us have the right to judge each other. It is a decision that we each have to make independently. Now, so far, I've been mostly talking about a spousal relationship or a relationship with a significant other. So I want to take a minute here and talk about other family relationships too. Maybe the covert narcissist in your life is your parent, your sibling, your adult child. And people might tell you, well, just cut them off. Kick them out of your life. What? That is incredibly hard to do. And your reasons for not wanting to do this will be very similar to the ones that I've just listed. There'll be a few exceptions, but there's a lot of them that will be the same. You value the family unit, your personal desires to be committed and invested. Maybe you want to be the type of person that's committed to these relationships and can even get through the tough times. Cultural and religious beliefs. Maybe you just don't want to cut these people off. You want the relationship, even if it's painful sometimes. Now, my point here is to ask yourself, why do you want to stay in this relationship? What are your reasons? That is a safe question, and it is okay to answer. And then stand behind your own answers. It is okay to choose to stay. And if someone is judging you for this or guilting you for this, that's their problem, not yours. Now, living with a covert narcissist or keeping one of them in your life is going to require careful navigation. So while you cannot change their behavior, you can take steps to protect you, to protect your peace and your stability. I want to give you some tools right now to navigate the relationships when you're choosing to stay. One is, don't try to change their behavior. All done with that. Their behavior's on them. They are an adult, and they are making their own choices on how they spend their time and their energy. If they're going to spend their energy on negativity, that's on them. That's their choice, not yours. Let them, wipe your hands clean of it, and walk away. Number 2 is to set clear boundaries. I talk a lot about boundaries in my podcast episodes, and if you missed the episode 3 Simple Steps for Boundary Setting, please go back and listen to it. Boundaries are essential, but they're for you, not for the covert narcissist. Decide what you will and will not tolerate and stick to those limits. For example, you might say to yourself, I will not engage in conversations where my fight or flight response has been activated. And then calmly remove yourself from the situation. This won't change their behavior. This is what I mean when I say boundaries aren't for them. This isn't about changing their behavior, and it's not going to change their behavior, but it will change yours. Boundaries are for you. Third is to practice emotional detachment. Covert narcissists thrive on emotional reactions. They thrive on being able to get you to respond positively and negatively. Learn to detach emotionally. Doing this can help you to maintain your peace. It doesn't mean ignoring your feelings. It means not giving them the power to manipulate your feelings. Put the key to your own emotions back in your own pocket. Number 4 is choose your battles. Not every disagreement needs to be addressed. You can just walk away. Sometimes choosing not to engage in an argument is the best way to maintain your sanity. This is not letting them win. This is protecting you. Again, this is a boundary that is for you. Next is to find your support system. Whether it's a trusted friend, family member, therapist, support group, any of this, have someone to talk to about what's going on. Someone that you can be open with, honest with, vulnerable with. You do not need to go through this alone. In choosing who to talk with, though, you will need people who support your choice to stay in the relationship. It is your choice not to cut this person off, and you need someone who values that decision. Next is to focus on your strengths. Remind yourself of the resilience and the qualities that make you strong. Keep a gratitude journal. Write down affirmations that help you to stay grounded in your self-worth. Again, remind yourself that it is not wrong to stay invested in this relationship. It's not wrong to choose to commit to this family relationship or to this marriage because you value commitment and you value the family unit. It's okay to be invested in this. I see that as a positive trait. The last I want to talk about is prioritizing your self-care. Staying in a challenging relationship means that you need to double down on your self-care. Carve out some personal time for you. Find time for activities that bring you joy, whether it's reading, gardening, exercising, pursuing a hobby. These moments are crucial for recharging your emotional energy. And when the covert narcissist starts guilting you for taking this time, this is where a boundary comes in. I will not feel bad for spending time in activities that bring me joy. And that's it. You don't need to defend it. You don't need to say anything more. You're just stating, I will not feel bad for spending my time this way. This isn't going to change them, but it will change your reaction to them. Nurture your mental health. Please consider therapy, counseling, or coaching to process your emotions and gain tools for managing the specifics of your relationship. If you are looking for a coach for this, you can find all of my information on the website at covertnarcissism.com. No pressure here, but find support. Exercise is also a powerful stress reliever. Even a daily walk can help to clear your mind and boost your mood. When your emotions are feeling overwhelming, put these emotions into an activity. I recently talked with a friend who was going through a really tough time, and she was fighting back tears. And I finally looked at her and I said, hey, quit fighting them. Let them out. And she did. And boy, she felt better. You got to give your emotions some voice. Now, when I talk about physical activity, this is where it applied with her, is I taught her then how to safely punch a workout bag. I took her over to where I had a workout bag and I taught her safely how to do it, and then I turned her loose. I asked her afterwards, I said, did that help? With a big smile on her face, her response was, oh yeah. Okay, step into some exercise. Use that exercise as a time to get out some of the just highly energized emotions that are stuck inside of you. Now, on the other side of this, practice some mindfulness exercises, meditation, deep breathing, yoga, things that help you to stay present and reduce your anxiety. I have a safe space in my room that I just love. It's this big round chair, and I've got pillows on it and my favorite blanket on it. And this round chair, it rotates, it spins in a circle, but it's big, fluffy chair. I could sleep in it. And when I need to escape from the world, even if it's just for a few minutes, I go get in that chair and I turn it in a circle where now I'm looking out a window at a whole bunch of trees and nature outside. But the backside of this chair is like a wall. If you walk into my room, you would just see kind of a wall there. And I love this because it's kind of my escape space. In this escape space, I just let my mind rest. Even if it's just a couple of minutes, several times throughout my day, it's so valuable. The last step of self-care is quit judging yourself. If you choose to stay, it's very easy to feel guilty. It's very easy to doubt yourself. Let go of that. Let go of the self-judgment. You're doing the best you can with the circumstances you are in, and there is no perfect way to handle this. Choosing to stay does not mean you've failed. It does not mean you've given up. It means that you're navigating life in a way that feels right for you right now. That choice to stay might change in your future, and that's okay too. You are allowed to revisit this decision as you go. Instead of focusing on what others might think, focus on what you think. Focus on what you need to feel stable and grounded. And if staying allows you to maintain that stability right now, honor that choice. You are the expert of your life. And in fact, you are the only expert of your life. To everyone listening who has chosen to stay in their marriage with a covert narcissist or chosen to stay in their relationship with a covert narcissistic family member, I want you to know that you are not alone. Your choice to stay is not a measure of your strength or your worth. It's simply the path that you're on right now. And there's no shame in that. Continue to take care of yourself? Yes. Protect your peace? Yes. And remember that you have the power to revisit this decision whenever you feel like you need to. Life is a journey, and you're walking it with courage every single day. Thank you for spending your time with me today. If this episode resonated with you, please follow my podcast, subscribe to my YouTube channel, share it with anyone in your world that might need this same message. Help me to continue building a community that's full of support. That was my goal from day one, and I'm just blessed and honored to watch it grow. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. You have been listening to the Covert Narcissism podcast. If you are struggling with covert narcissism in your life, I help people to heal from covert narcissistic abuse. If you are struggling with the isolation, the self-doubt, and the obsessive thinking, then this is the program for you. I offer both group and individual options. This is live, personalized coaching that is specific to covert narcissism. Reach out to me anytime. You can find me at my website, covertnarcissism.com. I'm not a therapist and you are not a victim. I am a coach and you are a survivor. I wish you so much peace on your journey of healing. The information provided by Renee Swanson and the Covert Narcissism podcast is for educational purposes only and is not to be used for diagnosis purposes and not intended to be a substitute for clinical care. Please consult a healthcare provider for guidance specific to your case. This material discusses narcissism in general. It does not claim that any specific person has narcissism and should not be used to refer to any specific person as having narcissism. Permission is not granted to link to or repost this material to support an allegation or a claim that any specific person is a narcissist. That would be an unauthorized misuse of the material and information provided.